the irrigation's important because you got to water it.
Yeah.
But plant to plant, some plants need more water, some plants need less water. Yeah. Is there a general rule of thumb, like is it just do your research, or is there certain types of plants, like a flower might need more, or this kind of anything like that?
So this is kind of where I think hiring somebody who is knowledgeable about plants will help. Because if you're putting in a tropical, tropical is going to suck up a lot of water. So if you look at like a New Guinea impatient, it's kind of a great example because you could see them wilt completely to the ground, and then as soon as you give them water, like an hour later, they're standing back up again. So if you're going to do like a tropical, like I have one customer in Comac, she likes to do tropical. She has a waterfall in the back. It's beautiful. So she'll do all that stuff. So that stuff is going to tend to need more water. Whereas you have other plants like a boxwood or a skip laurel, they don't really like too much water. They really like to be in that sweet spot. So a lot of plants, they want water. They don't want to dry out, but they need good drainage.
Yeah.
Typically, if you're going to have issues with your landscape, aside from the design part, where that's kind of like how it looks, I think the other side is really you want to know what sunlight conditions are going to work and what the soil is like. Because if you have a drainage issue, you're really going to have a problem with how good your landscape looks.
Okay, so if I wanted to revamp my front and I wanted to add all sorts of different plants, you're talking about the soil. What are some soil conditions that are problematic, and what are like the ways when we go to install the plants? What are the ways they correct that?
Clay is really like
clay's bad.
Worst case scenario, yeah. So depending on how hard packed the clay is
that because clay has bad drainage?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's just standing water.
And it'll rot the
not
roots?
a lot, yeah. So
Oh,
not
that
a
was a
lot
good
of
guess.
plants are going to want to sit in water.
Okay.
They want it to drain out. So exactly like you said, it's going to rot the roots.
Okay. And so like when the install is happening, excavate all the bad soil out.
If it's possible to excavate all the bad soil out, that's your best bet. That is not always possible, so the next thing is to pitch the water. So you're kind of, when it rains, you're allowing the water to move out, so it's not sitting exactly where you are or where your plants are.
So we like the same way if I have a patio, I want to pitch it away from the home, we can pitch the substrate that we can't remove to flow away, so
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
pooling. So even though it's not the top layer of soil, it's the impermeable layer of soil where the water flows out. Wow.
And sometimes it might take like something like what we've done is like a post hole digger or an auger, and you go down. So if you could kind of pull the water away and then pull it,
make a sump.
and then you
Make like an in-ground
yeah,
sump.
and see if you can get to sand, and then do that a few times. You'll pull the water away from your plants, and it'll go into those spots. Because if you have clay, you're certainly not starving for water.
Yeah, because it's sitting
just
in it.
holding it.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
somebody was DIYing their own garden and they're having issues growing it, and they're like, I'm watering the crap out of it and it's not going, and if we fast forward, you go there and you identify it's clay. Like, how could the homeowner go in their garden and figure out that that's the problem?
Really, all you need is a shovel.
Yeah.
Because if you start digging in clay, you're gonna know it. It's so much more difficult, right? And
So soil clay.
yeah,
It's not like clay that you get from
No.
the store. Like, how do you identify clay? Color, texture?
color for sure. Sometimes clay is like it's actually gray in color.
Okay.
And if you think about, if you ever imagine like using a shovel, usually you take the shovel and it's like goes all the way into soil. With clay, you might penetrate like an inch and a half.
Oh, wow.
And-
it's that hard.
Oh yeah, yep. Another issue you see too with bad soil, and not necessarily clay, but new construction.
Okay.
So
RCA?
you have a new construction home. There's going to be a lot of RCA around it, and there's going to be a lot of compaction because you're using these big, heavy machines.
Yeah, and they're just pounding it down. Yeah.
Right. So around
And the RCA is made because it's big and small rocks put together. It's made to get tight.
they get tight. Yeah.
It is amazing. Like, we go to these construction yards where guys are storing their outdoor equipment and everything's RCA'd, and you'll get like a weed here and there. Like the weeds can't even grow in the RCA. And I didn't know if RCA is recycled concrete.
Yeah.
A lot of concrete has a ton of chemicals in it to harden it. So I didn't know if maybe it was just because it's straight up toxic and it's poisoned, but there's no room for it to grow. And RCA is just you don't like plant plants in RCA is pretty.
No,
much
you
what-
definitely don't plant plants in RCA. So here's where the part where I think plants are kind of amazing because they will find a way to get in there.
Yeah.
It's just going to take longer.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did some paving and we would see trees blast through asphalt. Plants growing
Yeah.
through asphalt,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
not like they were in the crack and they grew, like they blew through the asphalt.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So I actually cut down a walnut tree at my house and a couple of oaks, and their roots. My driveway's a mess, but It's just very old. So the asphalt, one of the roots underneath the asphalt just decided, like, I guess because the tree is gone,
We're going to grow a new one.
It's going to redirect. And all of a sudden I had like a pimple in my driveway.
Yep.
And so I pulled it up and there's a root trying to push up through there. So I thought that was kind of
we would like
kind of cool.
We would pave driveways and some of it we'd have to go back if we didn't like for like flips and for all these quick jobs.
Yeah.
Where we didn't really do the prep. They were like, the RCA is good. It's been there the whole time. We would just pave on top of it.
Yeah.
And the plants would grow right through. It's unbelievable. So where you don't want them to grow, they're extremely resilient. But then when we want them to grow in the spots they need to, they'll be a little bit.